Have you ever pondered over the question why peace seems so elusive in the Israel-Palestine conflict? A question simple in its construct, yet complex in its implications. The Israel-Palestine conflict, a historical quandary that spans decades, is a labyrinth of political maneuvering, cultural clashes, and deeply embedded historical grievances. A stage where the actors change, but the narrative remains strikingly similar. This conflict is not just about land or religion. It is also about identity, survival, and the quest for self-determination. It's a saga of two peoples, both with legitimate claims and narratives, caught in an endless cycle of violence and reprisals. Yet, amidst the cacophony of diverging views and the intricate web of geopolitics, there are moments that stand out, events that redefine the course of this conflict. One such event unfolded on the 10th of October 2023. A day that would once again thrust the Israel-Palestine conflict into the global spotlight, begging the world to revisit that unsettling question. Today, we delve into the heart of this issue, focusing on the events of the October 10th, 2023 war. To understand the present, we must first visit the past. Our journey begins in the heart of the Middle East, where the Israel-Palestine conflict has been a historic and contentious issue. The roots of this conflict trace back to the early 20th century, a time when national aspirations of Jews and Arabs clashed over the same land. Over the years, this clash has evolved into a complex political and territorial dispute, deeply intertwined with issues of identity, religion, and human rights. Fast forward to the 21st century, where this prolonged conflict continues to shape the geopolitical landscape of the Middle East. The year 2023 saw tensions rise to a fever pitch during two significant religious observances: the Muslim holy month of Ramadan and the Jewish holiday of Passover. Incidents of violence escalated, resulting in loss of lives and fueling a bitter resentment. An Italian citizen was killed, and others were injured when a car rammed into a group of tourists in Tel Aviv. In response, the driver, a Palestinian citizen of Israel, was shot and killed by police. Meanwhile, two British-Israeli women were shot and killed near the occupied West Bank, further escalating the tensions. A pivotal moment in this trajectory was the armed Israeli police raiding Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City. This act led to clashes with Palestinians, sparking outrage and further fueling the flames of conflict. These events were not isolated incidents, but a series of disturbing patterns that were leading up to something much bigger. During this period, public opinion was shifting. A Gallup poll revealed a new high in sympathy for Palestinians among US adults, a shift attributed to Palestinians sharing their experiences on social media, and the influence of high-profile celebrities voicing their support for Palestine. Despite this shift, the reality for Palestinians living under Israeli occupation or blockade remained largely unchanged. The political divide in the US was reflected in the polarization of views on this issue, with the Democratic Party showing some movement towards pro-Palestinian sentiments. However, the predominant position within the party and across the country still leaned towards support for the State of Israel. As we navigate through this intricate history, we find ourselves on the brink of the October 10th, 2023 war. Every conflict has a spark, an incident that ignites the flame of war. In the case of the war that broke out on the 10th of October 2023 between Israel and Palestine, the spark was a series of incidents that escalated tensions to a breaking point. The immediate causes of the war were as complex as they were devastating, rooted in a history of unresolved territorial disputes and political power plays. One of the catalyzing incidents occurred during the Muslim holy month of Ramadan and the Jewish holiday of Passover. Tensions in the Israel-Palestine conflict escalated, resulting in several violent incidents. An Italian citizen was killed and others injured when a car rammed into a group of tourists in Tel Aviv. The driver, a Palestinian citizen of Israel, was shot and killed by police. Additionally, two British-Israeli women were shot and killed by Palestinian assailants near the occupied West Bank. The violence followed armed Israeli police raiding Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem's Old City, which led to clashes with Palestinians. These incidents, broadcasted worldwide, exacerbated the already fragile ties between the two nations, setting the stage for a full-blown conflict. Yet it was not just the physical violence that ignited the war. It was also the battle of narratives fought on the digital front lines of social media. Palestinians used these platforms to share their experiences. High-profile celebrities also spoke out in support of Palestine, influencing public opinion and creating a shift in perception. But while the world watched and opinions shifted, the reality on the ground remained unchanged. The escalating tensions, coupled with the unresolved political and territorial disputes, created a volatile situation that was primed for conflict. And so, on the 10th of October 2023, the spark ignited and war broke out. And so, the stage was set for a war that would leave an indelible mark on the pages of history. In the face of conflict, nations revealed their true strength. As the sun rose on the 10th day of October 2023, the echo of war drums resounded across the Israeli-Palestinian border. The spark that had set off this conflict had quickly turned into a raging inferno, consuming both nations in its fiery grasp. The war began with a series of rapid-fire attacks. Israel, equipped with advanced military technology and a well-trained army, launched airstrikes on key Palestinian strongholds. These precision strikes targeted infrastructure and military installations, aiming to cripple the Palestinian resistance swiftly and decisively. However, the Palestinians were not to be underestimated. Despite their limited resources and weaponry, they showcased a formidable spirit and resilience. Their defense strategy was rooted in their intimate knowledge of the terrain, using guerrilla warfare tactics to offset the technological advantage of their adversaries. They retaliated with rocket attacks, causing significant damage and chaos in Israeli cities. As the war progressed, it was clear that this was not a straightforward battle between two nations. It was a complex tapestry of political, religious, and cultural tensions that had been simmering for decades, now brought to a boil. The world watched, holding its breath as each day brought new developments, each more dramatic and devastating than the last. One of the war's turning points was the Battle of Jerusalem. This ancient city, sacred to both Israelis and Palestinians, became a fierce battleground. The conflict saw the Israeli forces gaining an initial advantage, but the Palestinians, drawing strength from their deep-rooted connection to the city, put up a fierce resistance. Despite the relentless bombardment and the overwhelming odds, the Palestinians managed to hold their ground. This display of resilience in the face of such adversity was a poignant reminder of the human spirit's indomitable strength. The war also saw moments of unexpected humanity amidst the carnage. Stories of soldiers from opposing sides helping each other in moments of vulnerability, civilians offering aid to the wounded irrespective of their nationality, and small acts of kindness that shone like beacons in the dark landscape of war. As the war stretched on, the international community's role became increasingly crucial. Nations across the globe watched with bated breath, their responses varying from vocal condemnation to calls for peace negotiations. The war was not just a regional conflict anymore, it had become a global concern. After weeks of intense fighting, the war began to wind down. The toll on both sides was immense. The landscape scarred by the remnants of battle, and the people wearied by loss and destruction. Yet, despite the devastation, there was a sense of resolve, a determination to rebuild and move forward. The echoes of this war still resonate in the hearts and minds of those affected. The memories of the war serve as a stark reminder of the cost of conflict, the price paid in blood and tears, but they also stand testament to the strength and resilience of nations and individuals, their capacity for courage, and their enduring hope for peace. Every war leaves a trail of devastation in its wake. The War of October 10th, 2023 was no exception. In the aftermath, both Israel and Palestine faced significant challenges, painting a sobering picture of a region grappling with the consequences of conflict. The humanitarian crisis was immediate and devastating. Palestinian communities, already contending with the harsh realities of living under occupation and blockade, were particularly hard hit. Hospitals overflowed with casualties, while the infrastructure damage disrupted critical services like water and electricity. Meanwhile, Israeli civilians also felt the toll of the conflict, with thousands displaced and many forced to seek shelter amid the barrage of rocket fire. The political changes in the aftermath of the war were equally profound. In Palestine, the war fostered a sense of unity among the divided factions, leading to renewed calls for a unified Palestinian front. In Israel, the conflict led to a hardening of attitudes, with political discourse increasingly dominated by security concerns and nationalist rhetoric. But the effects of the war extended beyond the immediate region. Internationally, the conflict led to a shift in relations. The increased visibility of the Palestinian plight, largely due to social media, resulted in growing international sympathy. This was particularly evident among the American public, with a Gallup poll revealing a new high in sympathy for Palestinians. However, this shift in public sentiment did not translate into a significant shift in policy. Support for Israel remained strong, especially among the United States political elite. Yet, the growing polarization on this issue reflected the broader political divide within the United States, suggesting that future policy changes could be on the horizon. In the Middle East, the conflict heightened tensions with neighboring countries. Jordan's King Abdullah II, for instance, expressed concerns about potential changes to the status of Jerusalem's holy sites, warning of red lines and preparedness for conflict. The war also strained Israel's relations with its Arab neighbors and Western allies, further complicating an already complex geopolitical landscape. The aftermath of the war also highlighted the enduring resilience of both Israeli and Palestinian societies. Despite the devastation, there were countless stories of individuals and communities coming together to rebuild and support one another. These stories served as a potent reminder of the human capacity for resilience and hope even in the darkest of times. The scars of war are not only physical but also psychological, imprinted on the collective memory of nations. But as these nations heal and rebuild, there is an opportunity to learn from the past and strive towards a future of peace and coexistence. A future where the horrors of war are a distant memory, replaced by mutual respect, understanding, and shared prosperity. History is not just a record of past events, but a guide to the future. The echoes of the 10th of October 2023 reverberate in our collective memory, a stark reminder of the devastating effects of war. Yet within these echoes lie lessons of resilience and the unyielding human spirit. The war between Israel and Palestine was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the universal desire for peace. Amidst the turmoil, the world witnessed the strength of the Palestinian people, their stories of trauma and resilience spotlighted in a cinematic tapestry of their experiences. The war served to amplify their narrative, a narrative that had long been overshadowed. In the aftermath of the conflict, a shift in global perception was palpable. Sympathy for the Palestinians among Americans reached new heights, influenced by the increased use of social media to share their experiences and the voices of high-profile celebrities championing their cause. Yet the reality for Palestinians living under Israeli occupation remained unchanged, a stark reminder of the enduring challenges faced by those on the ground. Meanwhile, support for Israel remained strong, underpinned by a complex tapestry of geopolitical alliances and historical ties. Yet, amidst the staunch support, there was a growing recognition of the need for a balanced dialogue, a dialogue that acknowledges the rights and aspirations of both Israelis and Palestinians. As we cast our gaze towards the future, the prospects for peace in the Israel-Palestine conflict remain uncertain. Yet amidst this uncertainty, there is a glimmer of hope, a flickering light at the end of a long tunnel. The lessons learned from the war serve as a guide, a compass pointing towards a path of dialogue, empathy, and mutual respect. The shifting narrative and growing sympathies for the Palestinian cause are cause for cautious optimism. The changes in public opinion, particularly among Democrats, may eventually impact policy decisions, nudging the needle towards a more balanced and inclusive discourse. Yet the road to peace is fraught with challenges. It requires courage, empathy, and an unwavering commitment to justice. It requires us to transcend political divides and to acknowledge the shared humanity that binds us all. As we ponder upon this conflict, we are reminded of the enduring human spirit and the incessant quest for peace.